following podcast is provided by CarePartners Living and Answers for Elders Radio.
And welcome everyone to Answers for Elders Radio Network. As we are here in this last weekend of February, I want to welcome some very, very special guests and an organization that is so close to my heart. We have both Tanya and Venetia, both from CarePartners Senior Living. And ladies, I am so glad to have you with us today as we're going to talk about a very important topic about senior wellness and how does the whole senior living world fit into quality of life for seniors. And so I'm going to start off by introducing Venetia. And Venetia, could you explain to us what your specific title is? Because you are kind of an amazing individual that I haven't met yet. I think I know everybody and I haven't met you yet.
Oh, well, my title is really Business Development Manager. That is really, really close to Community Relations Director.
Mm-hmm.
But it's more about enhancing the outreach and marketing process of the company.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And, you have a big job, my friend, because CarePartners is huge in the community. And you guys do so much in the way of, Alzheimer's education, sponsoring special events. You are absolutely one of our greatest sponsors for 12 Days of Goodness as we touch the hearts of seniors. And so obviously you've got some pretty big shoes to step into. There's a lot of focus on the community, and we're so thrilled to have, you being in that kind of a role, because it makes a difference. And, we have been talking about our, a program that we're going to be featuring coming forward. And our listeners will learn more about it, but soon we're going to be launching a series that is all about the 8 foundational principles of senior wellness. And, in this month of February, we also kind of focus on healthcare. There's a lot of things that happen like heart health and different things in the month of February that we want to be more mindful of. And so when I reached out to CarePartners and I said, would you guys humor me? Because I would love to talk a little bit about 4 of the 8 foundational principles that we'll be getting into much more in depth. But in this short segment, I'm going to first talk a little bit about emotional wellness. It's the very first principle of wellness that's on the 8 principle wheel. And it's interesting why emotion comes first in this. And so Venetia, would you explain a little bit about emotional wellness and why do you think it comes first on the foundational principle wheel?
Well, emotional to me means heart. So our heart, where it is actually located, it pumps blood everywhere. And as well as with wellness, it is actually the core. It is the ability for seniors to adapt to changes.
Mm-hmm.
And I do believe that, when they go through changes, I want them to, especially if they're with CarePartners, we are their backbones.
Mm-hmm.
So we try to get them adapted to the changes and
Mm-hmm.
handle life's stresses successfully as well.
Mm-hmm. And I always think of emotional wellness is that sense of well-being. It's that sense of, I feel good every day that I want to wake up and I feel like I fit. I feel like I belong. Right. I have an area of, sense of the ability to nurture and be nurtured. And I think that there's a big part of that in the whole moving into a senior living place, because yes, it's also change, but it's also the feeling of, are you going to sit there isolated alone watching TV all day in your home? Are you going to be in a community that surrounds you with that kind of love and acceptance? And I think that's where that need can be fit. What do you think about that, Venetia?
And I think that is actually very important, because for us as well, if they do move into an actual community, they would need those activities to kind of like have them cope in their new environment.
Mm-hmm.
And with that comes, of course, building relationships and swaying away from that loneliness that they're feeling.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, and loneliness is a huge issue with seniors, and
It
certainly we have done a lot of education on that whole piece of how loneliness can really be detrimental to, you know, your health, your well-being, and not taking care of yourself, depression, that can lead into escalating symptoms of Alzheimer's and dementia. And those are some of the things that we always want to take a look at as we move forward, you know, in this whole principle of why does emotional wellness comes first? Because I don't think anybody could do anything as far as taking care of themselves or do anything without that sense of well-being, of the desire to have a better quality of life. What do you think?
No, that is definitely true. And I fully agree on that 100% because I think seniors are very vulnerable to loneliness. And like what you said, it can definitely affect their cognitive and their mental health first and foremost. And a lot of, let's talk about going back about COVID. There's a lot of people that got isolated in their rooms.
Huge.
And then after coming out of that quarantine and isolation procedure, a lot of them had a change in conditions. That alone explains the process of how important emotional wellness is.
It is. And I think it's also the affirmations that you're getting from other people. I know that if you're sitting there by yourself, you know, there's a lot of fear that can be pulled in there, or, you know, the struggles just to live alone every day. It's a lot. If a loved one has mobility issues or a sense of, you know, just lack of purpose, a lot of those things can pull you into kind of this downward spiral of, you know, I don't feel like I want to do anything. And so I don't eat right. I don't do a lot of different things like that. So what are some things that Care Partners really focuses on the emotional wellness side that helps your residents feel loved and wanted?
Absolutely. That will be, of course, the activities alone. What are the most important activities that they can do in a community, focusing on that life's purpose? It could be anything at all. It can be an ambassador for leading a crochet group, anything that they are very, very unique in their own way. Being leaders alone, or just reading, simple reading and Bible study, or sharing what they feel, sharing what they need. And like what you said, just being active is very, very important. That is actually what we're trying to promote and trying to encompass, like what you said earlier, the whole entire 8 health wellness, 8 types of wellness that touches different aspects of life for seniors.
Yeah, I always think of you know, Kelly Smith, who our listeners all know because Kelly's on the radio a lot. But the thing that's interesting about one story that Kelly told me is about one of your residents they asked the questions when he moved in, what does he love to eat? And the daughter said, Dad loves Monte Cristo sandwiches. And so in that community, they now have once a month Monte Cristo Day. And it's his name, Jack's Monte Cristo sandwich. So then they make it in the same way that he likes it. So that's the thing. I think those types of things, it makes people feel wanted. It makes people feel like they matter in a community. And I know you guys do that all the time for your residents.
Absolutely.
Little things like that make all the difference, you know. Excuse me. So we have about a minute left. Tell us a little bit about Care Partners and what's going on. And I think you have a move-in special for March.
Yeah, we do. We have a move-in special for March, and that is actually waiving that move-in quota, or that is kind of like something that we're promoting. That is only if they do move in up to March 31st. So putting in that move-in deposit will be waived definitely for them. But if they do move in within the 31st of March.
And you have communities all the way from Marysville down to, well, Linden, excuse me, all the way down to Lacey. Is that correct? So
That is
really, and you
correct.
specialize obviously in memory care, in assisted living, and even some independent living some of your communities have. And certainly the spouses sometimes move in that don't need care yet, but they're there with their loved one. And I think that's the really thing is your efforts that you do to keep people together. I think we had started out with emotional wellness because that is really the first principle on the wheel, the wellness wheel, which I found was kind of interesting. I always thought the physical wellness would be first, but it's not. And I understand the reasoning behind it more and more that I learned. So now we move into, I think, one of the biggest pieces of wellness, and that is obviously social wellness. It's the ability to connect with others. And so we'll all be back right after this.
The preceding podcast was provided by CarePartners Living and Answers for Elders Radio. To contact CarePartners Living, go to carepartnersliving.com.